What's going on, everybody? It's David Palmer, Leo King, and this is my show, Uncut Astrology, where I take off the mask and look deep behind the veil and give you this week's astrological forecast for the week of April 20th through the 26th of 2016, and we are getting ready. That's right, we are getting ready. After Mars is just retrograded, and this week is the last week of Mercury direct. Get ready, everybody! Mercury goes retrograde next week, so I'd start preparing and starting to stop this week, and that is why next Thursday, right before Mercury goes, well, pretty much on Mercury retrograde, I am doing a webinar to talk about 5 planets retrograde, which is very rare, and to talk more about what this retrograde is going to be with Mars, what this retrograde is going to be with Mercury, how it's connected with Jupiter coming direct, and how there's going to be this really unique lever-pulling system, and to get you prepared, because I have been saying since my horoscope coming into 2016 that September is going to be the most powerful month of the year, and the building blocks, believe it or not, September is going to come like this. The building blocks of now till September are huge. And all these levers that are being pulled and all these retrogrades are all connected to September. So I'm going to cover what this spring is all about, and I'm going to do a live webinar where you can be in there, answer questions. It's going to be awesome. I miss doing these. I'm doing this. So make sure you check this out. I'm going to put the link on inclusiveastrology.com by this weekend. You can register for it, and of course I'll be putting it on my social media, and I'll put the link down here at the bottom of this YouTube video, but it won't be until like this weekend. That's because I'm actually taking a quick little break. I've been all over the place. I've gone through surgery, literally a memorial. One of my friends died. I need a break. I'm gonna be real, and everybody knows this. If you've been watching me on social media, I'm taking a break, believe it or not, for the first time in 4 years. So for the next couple days, I'm just running off and taking off a couple days. So I'm not doing the spiritual dance music for the full moon, unfortunately. Good thing is I always do them on the new moons. I never miss a new moon, but full moons, you know, sometimes I'll miss those. And I'm sorry I won't be able to do it, but you can re-listen to a lot of the shows for that. But anyway, let's get to the astrology now, shall we? Big time. Because Mars is now retrograded, Saturn is retrograde, Jupiter is stationary retrograde still. What else do we got there? Pluto has just retrograded, and we are getting ready for Mercury to retrograde, the 5th one by the end of this week that we're talking about right now. By this time next week, we're getting ready for retrogrades. And that's a lot of reflection, that's a lot of deep inner look, but there's a full moon in the middle of all this, and this is a lot to uncover. Number one, it's a full moon in Scorpio, right? It wants to uncover everything. It wants to get to the bottom of everything. And the one negative aspect of a full moon in Scorpio, or any moon in Scorpio, is the moon in Scorpio is that detriment, we call it. It's not at its really like great position. And the reason why is because Scorpio and emotions, it's not good when they attach to things that could be negative, right? You know, Scorpio is a bipolar sign. It's very high light and it's very dark. But the problem with Scorpio is it cannot let go of certain things. You know, it just like overly emotionally will just attach and commit. That's why Scorpio rules the house of contracts. It rules the house of commitment. And it rules the house of actual, I believe, more of the real definition of marriage and a contract. Whereas the 7th house is kind of like, let's agree to get married. The 8th house is when it's real. And of course, I've never been married, so I don't know what a commitment like that looks like, but it always turns into a whole different thing once you come into marriage. Much more of a Scorpio world, in my opinion. But what's very interesting is the sun's in Taurus now. Here's Mercury in Taurus. We got, and Taurus energy is I'm going to be honest, it's my second favorite sign, okay? Leo, of course, is my favorite. I'm the Leo king. Because it's love, it's the sun, and it really is all about love and happiness. But Taurus is really about building the beautiful life, really coming into your youth, really starting to see the flowers grow, really understanding your worth, really stepping into valuable things, nice things, you know? Are you gonna live in a place with dirty carpet, or are you gonna finally go put that tile in the house? Are you gonna live with cottage cheese ceilings, or are you gonna scrape those ceilings and put huge, like, you know, cathedral energy inside? You know, there's a difference in life. Do you drive a Kia, or do you drive a Lamborghini? I mean, Taurus is the definition of showing you where your self-worth is at. And at this time where we're in a mass world of confusion, I think it's important for us to dig up our real feelings. The good news of a full moon in Scorpio, I know all those Scorpios and those moon in Scorpios were all waiting for me to just throw them off a bridge with negativity. The positive is, man, it reveals all the emotions. You know how you really feel. And so this is going to be us really going yes or no. I like this, I don't like this in my life. Do I really feel this or do I not feel this? And I am calling this week Organic Desires and Wants. The week of organic, okay? Everybody's going organic, right? Do you want that GMO shit? I mean, I drink Sprite still, so I drink GMO, but you know, at the end of the day, if I buy bananas, I usually buy organic. Now, the reason why I'm bringing up all this is Mars is retrograde, so we're going to talk about that. But the other reason why I'm bringing this up, Venus in Aries, which is all about really starting to identify and go for wants and desires without thinking. The reason why Venus is at detriment is because it doesn't think about whether it's good or not. It pulls the relationship in without thinking about it and doesn't see that it's fair, balanced, and equal. And the next thing you know, you're an 85-year-old man with a 20-year-old girlfriend, and she's going to steal all your money. But it was fun for the first week. That's Venus in Aries. Watch out, Venus in Aries, people. I'm just kidding. But it's on top of Uranus this week. So there's excitement, there's unpredictability, there's this fresh electric excitement brewing. And when you get that energy, you have to realize, on top of a full moon in Scorpio, and with Mars retrograding in Sagittarius, where Saturn is trying to teach us to not overdo it, this is where people are just gonna push things that they want so bad and just say, fuck it, I'm doing this. I'm going into this, I'm jumping into this. I want to experience this excitement. And that's not a bad thing, but the ultimate lesson, because the moon after it's full will jump into Sagittarius, it's going to come over Mars retrograde, it's going to come over Saturn retrograde, and it's going to highlight and square Jupiter and square Neptune. We're coming into this T-square building right now of Saturn, Neptune, and Jupiter, and the moon's going to cover this space after this full moon. And it's going to really ask you, like, okay, you jumped into all these things. Were you just at the grocery store and were you just putting every aisle, you know? It's the worst when I go to Target. I end up like $400 later, and then I come up and I didn't need any of the crap. Taurus weighs out the value of things. What is it you're going for this week? Is it really worth it? Are you wasting your energy? Because Scorpio can sometimes, I don't want to say it wastes it, but it really emotionally will sometimes get too fixated, and so does Taurus, but at least Taurus knows the value. Taurus doesn't fixate on a Kia. Taurus fixates on a Lamborghini. Taurus doesn't fixate on, Motel 6. Taurus focuses on Hyatt Regency, baby. So it's like, that's why the moon's exalted in Taurus, because at least if you're going to be emotional over losing Hyatt Regency opposed to Motel 6 being full. I hope that makes sense. So a full moon in Scorpio highlights where your value systems and desires, especially with the Mars retrograde in Sagittarius, especially with the Saturn retrograde in Sagittarius, of where you might be over-optimistic about something that's really not that worthwhile. Or maybe you're going about your life into things that really aren't that worth it. Like, why are you putting in that extra energy to go drive as fast as you can to make it to the Motel 6? The ride to the Motel 6 is actually nicer and more enjoyable, and I guarantee you the inside of your car is nicer than the Motel 6. Why are you overly pushing to try and get into that Motel 6? People are going to think I'm crazy. But, that's what this is an overstimulation of excitement, carnal desire, wants and needs, and the real ability to see whether this week you're putting that energy into things that are worth it, or if all that money is just money. It's literally, we're dealing with money. But on top of that, we're dealing with our self-worth. It registers our self-worth. Are we somebody who just to go for what we want and feel that excitement, that we're willing to let go of our values and maybe take it a notch down and say, oh yeah, I'll do that. When really you look back and you go, why did I do that? When you talk about relationships, it's like, I'm going to open up that can of worms. It's like, is that person really up to your par? Or, really? And so I think coming up to your par is a lot to look at in this. Another reason why I'm saying this is Mercury is stopping this week. It's coming to a halt by the end of next week. It's going to come get ready to retrograde, and it's going to be sextiling over to Chiron. This is going to be highlighting on how by us holding on to and understanding our values about ourself better and holding what is more of our true value of ourself better, that we can actually start to look at our failures in the past and the issues that we've had problems with and actually start to get over them because we realize we're better than that. We can move on from that. We have risen to a better place in our life now. And this Mercury retrograde is going to be a good one. This Mercury retrograde is going to be really all about starting to, I think, clean house and starting to especially understand, why am I putting energy into things that I don't need to? The reason why, we just spent the last 3.5 years through Scorpio stuff. You got to remember, we can even go back to 2010 when Venus retrograded in Scorpio last. For the last 6 years of our life, we've been dealing with very deep Scorpio stuff. We've been dealing with more of kind of like, more of carnal desire, more of deeper inner world stuff, more of stuff that really hasn't really resonated more with our value. And I think we're all as species and all as individual souls really starting to kind of get back to that place of like, yeah, you know what, why am I holding on to things that emotionally, spiritually, energetically, physically, that just are not worth it in my life? Why am I with that person? Why am I at that job? Why am I at that house? Why do I drive that car? Why do I do those things that just don't resonate on my level? And this week will show you and be the teacher of that. Because I think this Mars retrograde, believe it or not, because it's in fire, believe it or not, because it's in Sagittarius, is all about teaching you to direct your identity and to direct your life and see a broader picture better. That's what Saturn's here for too. But at the end of the day, it's about teaching us. And I think it's about teaching us now through this transit coming up, what is better in our life? What is greater for ourselves? What can we hold ourselves better for? And when we're in relationships now, which ones are at our par? So I guarantee you, especially when you're dealing with Uranus and you're dealing with Venus, it's not just one. It comes into kind of like a plethora, of you kind of going, what's this? Because you got to remember that Uranus looks in all directions. So you're going to get thrown kind of a spin of people in your life. And now we're not just talking about love and romance and sex. We're also talking about business partnerships, friendships, and so forth. Like, what kind of people now are more resonating with your higher vibration and I'm not talking about spiritual high vibration. I'm talking about value system high vibration, Like, it's kind of like a car club. Like, it's kind of like, when you're in a Lamborghini car club, you're not going to let the Honda Civic come into the club. Even though I'm all about the universe and we're all one, and sure, I'd love for you to come in the club, there's something about Taurus that is stubborn and says, no, you're not up to worth. You don't have enough money to buy this house. This world is not... I just almost said something that would have got me in a political mess. But I hate to be honest, but this whole world will always have worth. This world will always have inequality of wealth because each person has to go through finding their own self-worth. If universe just all made us the same value and didn't find our different values, we wouldn't have Taurus. We wouldn't understand the value difference between good and bad. We wouldn't understand the different value of a really expensive camera or you doing videos on your iPhone. There's things that are better. And that's what makes life great, is to understand what's better. And there's a redirection thinking about that. And I think the whole world's actually about to rethink what's better in life. Who knows? Maybe it's going to change with money and what people think is better. But at the end of the day, whatever it is, you need to understand that there is always something better. You can always be better, and you can rise to a higher vibration. And so with relationships, with your own self-worth, with all these carnal desires, with all these things you want, are you bringing things into the cart that just really aren't worth it? Do you really need those Ritz peanut butter crackers? Or all do you need is the bread, the water, and how much is it all worth? And at the end of the day, are you even going to ingest it all, or are you just going to throw it all away? Scorpio also is kind of a reset button emotionally. So there is this full moon reset button, kind of clearing the past, kind of clearing the decks, bringing up all the googly oogly shit, and the beautiful fountain of youth of Taurus, I think, kind of clearing that energy. But get ready though, this Mercury retrograde that's coming is really gonna bring us into a place where I think we need this kind of kick in the butt this week in a positive and a weird way to remember what's valuable about ourselves, what we are really reaching for here, and to let this, once this Mercury retrograde comes, really rethink what our own value is, really rethink what's coming up in our life, and really have kind of pulled up what we want, what we don't want, and finally, I think face to face have reached a place in our life where we really are starting to see what our real desires are and what really isn't worth the time, energy at all anymore. And if we're just jumping around like helpless little, powerless people trying to just get the next thing that's good enough, instead of stepping back and being the all-powerful one and starting to use your magic and create the best of what you've ever wanted in your life. So kind of a weird week, kind of a magical week in that area. And I think you can find people that have that, but there is a look at what they value and how that reflection is back at you. Thanks so much for all your support. You can give me on my app every day and watch videos like this from my daily video app service. It's called the Leo King app. It's in the App Store for iPhone, and it's also at the Google Play Store for Android. And of course, you can get it at leoking.lookstack.com or the leokingapp.com for all services right there. Thank you so much for all your support. Hope to see you on the webinar next week, and I will see you on the next Uncut.